Welcome into the mid-Norfolk cottage garden, and what you're looking at here is our rhubarb patch, which is mulched now with a really well rotted down wood chip mulch for winter. You'll just see the dark brown crowns indicated by that mass just under the wood chip. But this wood chip that we're using on here will act as a feed and a weed suppressing mulch. We've put about 1.5 to 2 inches. If I just open up, you'll see the soil under there. It's not too deep, this, but this wood chip has been really well composted before we put it on. So let's go and show you the process and the stages at which you want to use this wood chip. Now, what is described as wood chip is going to vary quite considerably, and that's going to depend on what's going into the chipper at the sharp end. This pile here is wood chippings that have been produced here on the farm over the last couple of months, and you'll see running through this, starting to break down. You can see these little fungal trails here which indicate that this is starting to rot. And what you'll get on this first off is an awful lot of heat, depending on how much green material is in the chipper. If a lot of coniferous or leylandii type material's gone through, that's going to break down quite quickly and will produce an awful lot of heat. But be warned not to put this material on at this stage. If I go further down, it starts getting warm and drier and a sort of grey fungusy type of appearance to it. There's quite a bit of wood in this wood chip, which means it's going to last for several years. But what we do want to do is leave this somewhere for at least 12 months and possibly 18 or 24 months until you have it completely rotted out and all the fungus disappeared from the top. Once you start seeing some growth of roots into it or weeds shooting in it, that's a good indicator that it's ready to be put onto the border. But if you put it onto the flower borders too early, it'll suck the nitrogen out as it breaks down and actually suppress the plant growth rather than feeding it. And the first thing or last thing that you'll see before it's rotting is a crop of mushrooms or fungus developing right the way through it. Let me go and show you the more mature plant piles that we've got as a comparison to this fresh stuff. This is the pile of wood chip that we've had down here now for 2.5 years. You'll see the pile is much flatter, it's compressed down, it's much darker in material wise. If I show you the top of here, this was a lot of conifer material, and there's still some brown coniferous material identifiable in this wood chip, but if I just open it up and show you, it's almost completely composted. There's a lot less solid wood material in here. It breaks down nicely. If I go down to the base of this, we find that the tree roots are actually starting to come up and feed off it. It's almost like soil down here at the very bottom, and that's the stage at which you can use this as a top mulch on your borders. There is still some dry material in here, but again, where this hasn't composted down, it contains a lot more woody material, and this is still going to suck nitrogen out of the borders. So be careful if you do have areas like this, not to put too thick a coat on and not to put it on too close to delicate or fragile plants. But just below that, look, you can see the tree roots coming up out of the soil and starting to feed on this, and that's a good sign that this is ready to now use. So this can be scraped away, barrowed over, and this is what we've been using in the vegetable garden, particularly around the rows of raspberries and on top of the rhubarb. That's not going to do too much damage, it's not going to suck out too much nitrogen from the borders, and that's a good sign that it's ready to use and can be used directly on borders as opposed to as a top dressing on paths.